Hey everybody, Scotty here to assemble the Head Groove E2 e-mountain bike. Here we go. Ensure to locate your parts box and your battery charger. Set those off to the side. Go ahead and pull this bike out. And start unwrapping it. You can see that I've used the box to prop up the bike and help with assembly. First, we'll start installing the handlebars. Use a 6mm Allen key to unthread the handlebar clamp bolts. Rotate the handlebars back onto the stem, ensuring that all the cables are in front of the handlebar and running smoothly down the frame. Put the top clamp back on and thread in the 6mm Allen key bolts, one to the other. Let's install the seat post. Applying a little bit of grease to the seat post before installing will ensure that the seat post will move freely throughout the lifetime of the bike. Note the minimum insertion lines marked on the seat post, letting you know that that much of the seat post needs to be installed in the frame for safe riding. Each tick mark should be below the frame and no longer seen when the seat post is installed. Open the quick release clamp up, slide the seat post in, past the minimum insertion, close the clamp, and ensure that it's tight. Let's install the pedals. Notice that there is a right and left pedal, and on the crank arm itself is labeled with an R, R, and L, letting you know which side is right and which side is left. Thread this pedal in to the right by hand, ensuring that we do not cause any damage to the crank arm by cross-threading the pedal. Once the pedal is threaded all the way in by hand, get a 15mm box wrench and tighten the rest of the way. Again, double checking that we're using the left pedal on the left side by the L's indicated on both. Thread the pedal in counterclockwise or reverse threaded. Threading in by hand, ensuring that you do not cross thread or damage the crank arm. When the pedal is threaded in all the way by hand, use a 15mm wrench to tighten the rest of the way. We'll want to align the handlebars and adjust our headset properly. To do so, take a 5mm Allen wrench and thread the top cap bolt in until it's snug. Do not over tighten because that will cause your bearings to be too tight and your steering to be non-responsive. Top cap is snugged up. It's time to tighten your stem bolts. Use a 6mm Allen wrench to alternate between bolts until stem is secure and tight. From the parts provided, use your quick release skewer and unthread the non-handled end. Taking with it one spring. The handled end will slide in from the disc side, and then you'll install the spring skinny in towards the wheel and then thread in the non-handled side of your quick release skewer. From this point, you'll need a buddy. All right, you'll have a buddy step in, pull the bike out of the box. We'll remove the shipping protection axle. And then install the wheel. First, you'll line up the disc rotor with a spot in the caliper where it will line up to. Guiding first the disc rotor in, and then the axle into the dropouts, have your friend place the bike onto the ground and tighten your quick release skewer. The quick release skewer will be the correct tightness whenever you feel pressure when the arm of the skewer is parallel with the ground. Fold the skewer the rest of the way over and use your thumb to make sure that it's secure. Using a Phillips head screwdriver and a 10mm box wrench, remove the mounting hardware that we'll use for our fender and light. Oh yeah. Guide the fender on top of the front tire so that the mounting bracket goes under the brake bridge. Using the hardware you just removed, take the bolt and the front light, pass the bolt through the fender mount, lift the fender, pass the bolt through the light mount and through the brake bridge. With the remaining hardware, take the thick washer first, install that on the back of the bolt, then use your thin washer, install that on the back of the bolt, and then your 10mm nylon lock nut. Once loosely threaded on, use hardware provided to install the struts on the fork legs. Rotate strut arms until they align with the threaded tabs on the fork legs. Once loosely fit, take your Phillips head screwdriver and tighten down the fender strut legs. Using your 10mm wrench and your Phillips head screwdriver, we'll now tighten up the top mounting bracket for the light and the fender. Straightening the light so it's up and down. Tighten until both the fender and light are secure. Once tight, pick the front of the bike up and spin the wheel, make sure that the wheel does not rub on the fender. Okay. Once the fender is clear of the tire, adjust the light to point straight and use an 8mm box wrench to align and tighten the front light. Use your Phillips head screwdriver to remove the screw on your front reflector. Expand the plastic band over the handlebar. Reinstall the screw you just removed. And tighten the reflector down to the desired position. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, remove the screw from the bell clamp. Then stretch the plastic band over the handlebars and reinstall the Phillips head screw. Adjust and tighten the bell to desired position. With the provided cable guides, line up corresponding sizes of cables to match the corresponding holes in the cable guide. Once cables are chosen, press and lock together your cable guide. Thread the cables into your cable guide so that they are all held securely together. Remove the keys from the handlebar and place in a safe spot. These keys will be used if you need to remove the battery from the frame. To stop any brake rub, adjust the caliper using a 5mm Allen wrench where the caliper mounts to the back of the fork. The goal is to have space on either side of the rotor. To adjust your disc brake for minimal rub, start by loosening both the top and the bottom brake mounting bolts. Only break these bolts free. Do not unthread them. Make sure that there is a gap between the rotor and the brake pad and the caliper on both sides. Once that is achieved, tighten down both of the brake bolts and double check. With the front brake adjusted for minimal rub, do the same process on the rear brake until the desired outcome is achieved. To adjust the derailleur on your bike, have a friend pick the back of the bike up so you can shift into the smallest cog. Pedal the bike and use the plus indicator on the shifter to shift all the way down into the smallest cog. Adjust your high limit screw so that the bottom pulley is parallel with the smallest cog on the gear cluster. Friend, come back in so you can shift the derailleur to the largest cog. Using the thumb shifter on top, shift all the way up to the largest cog. Using the low limit screw, repeat the process, ensuring that the top pulley is parallel to the top largest cog on the gear cluster. All right, the final step of assembly is changing your display from kilometers per hour to miles per hour. To begin, power up the bike by pressing and holding the power button located on top of the battery until the lights light up. Move to the display screen. Press and hold the center button on the display, powering up the display screen. Once the display screen is powered up, press and hold the top and the bottom button on the display for 3 seconds. This will get you to the menu. You first get to trip clear. Y will clear all your miles, and you can cycle that with using the bottom button to change to no so that you do not clear your trip. To cycle to the next option in the menu, press the center button. Next, you'll get to the brightness for your display screen, your backlight. You can choose 3 options. 1, little brighter at 2, and even brighter at 3. Once you've reached your desired setting there, you'll hit the middle button to cycle to the final display, which will be your units. You can choose between what it's set at now, kilometers per hour, or by hitting the bottom button, select miles per hour. After you've reached all your desired settings on your display, press and hold the center button to return to the original display screen. Once you've got your bike assembled, your display set to the settings you desire, it's time to hit those trails and enjoy this e-bike.